Hey, Reviews Dunn. Who's giving you a dose this week?
Hey, what's going on, folks? Once again, it's your boy Derek Dunn back with another A1 interview. My guest today is a legend, and I want to say, man, one of the great joys of being a cinephile, for as long as I've been one, is having the opportunity to speak with a true character actor, someone who works you may not always see coming, but you never regret once they're on the screen. My guest today falls squarely in that category. He shared the screen with Oscar winners like Jamie Foxx, Emmy winners like Loretta Devine, Grammy winning artists like Ice Cube and Usher, and my personal favorite, Tony winner, Mr. Charles Dutton. Today I'm speaking with the true veteran of the game, Mr. Clifton Powell, whose latest project, Return to the Mack, is a modern day continuation of the 70s classic where he plays the role of
Detective Calhoun.
Every Calhoun. That's right. So
Yes,
welcome to
sir.
the line, and thank you, sir, for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me.
Hey, good to see you, my brother. Glad to be here.
So what can you
What,
tell
what
us
part of
about
the
your...
country are you in?
So I'm in the DMV. I'm in Northern VA.
Okay, I'm from the DMV. I'm from DC Southeast, All my folks out there, I love y'all.
All right, so what can you tell us about your character, Avery Calhoun, in Return to the Mac?
Uh, Detective Calhoun is one of the guys that kind of uncovers this whole thing along with Mr. Ford's character. And he's throughout the whole film and trying to keep the Mac from going crazy and killing almost everybody because his daughter is being and is involved in a whole sex trafficking ring. And I'm kind of like the detective that follows the whole story and tries to bring this thing to a close and put everybody in jail where they need to be. So I told my buddy Kamal who directed this and asked me to come on board out of Detroit. Want to give a shout out to Mr. Kamal. Um, for having me on board and to the producers. Just wanted to, I said I wanted to play a character in here that was not one of the tough, crazy guys because I wanted to kind of get away from some of the tough guys I play. So, but Detective Calhoun's a tough guy, but he's on the right side of the law this time. So it's all good.
Yeah, respect. One of the things I liked about your character, Calhoun, was the old school vibe. It's kind of I think sometimes missing in today's
Hmm.
youth, to where you can still be an alpha male, you can still handle your business,
Yeah,
but there's a certain way you have to do it, because if you go from 0 to 100, you're
yeah,
bringing more unnecessary drama,
yeah,
more headaches to a situation that's already kind of
yeah,
hostile. So what
yeah.
was your preparation process just to bring out that bravado in your character?
Well, I think a lot of it was in the writing. Again, I was saying to someone, I come out of the Stanislavski system or what we call method acting, and I just try to get into the mind of the character, the spirit of the character. But I also do what's on the page. When a script is written well, you don't have to come in and try to make up stuff. Calhoun is an old school cat. He knew Dewan's father, his character's father, the Mac. He knew his dad. He knew his uncles. He came out of the streets and he understands that a lot, when your daughter is, caught up in this, it takes your whole brain to another level. And so he's the kind of, cat who knows the Mac and tries to keep him on board in terms of being grounded and making the right decisions so he doesn't go back inside, and thank God for that character because if not, trying to rescue his daughter, he would be on it back in the inside, and then he would be useless to his daughter because she still's got to be out. She still has to be out in the world. So it's a lot of different levels to Calhoun and how he has to manage these young cats, and it's interesting to watch.
Definitely. So, in watching the film, one of the things I want to commend you on and the rest of your cast and crew was the angle that you all used. Because when we think about the blaxploitation era, when we think about the route that it could have taken, parody,
Hmm.
stereotypical, the catalyst for the entire film
Hmm.
is missing black and brown girls
Hmm.
and bringing attention to that. And so I
Hmm.
want to commend you all for channeling that. So, in reading the script again, did that kind of make you raise an eyebrow and say it's something different? It's not a stereotype, because you alluded to earlier, you don't want to play a typical tough guy again. You wanted to have some merit in your performance.
Well, I think again, it starts with the writing. I think it starts with the producers who develop the script. I think it starts with the director. And we as actors, we just try to bring to life what's on the page. This is happening all over the country to African American women, to Latino women, to young white women, young and old. Sex trafficking is a problem, and it's something that we have to address. And this movie addresses it. This guy comes out, and his daughter is involved, and he goes to get her, which any father would do. I have a daughter who's 30 years old. If you come after my daughter, I'm coming after you. And that's what I love about this movie is, at some point we got to make sure that we don't hurt these young people, and so I wanted to be when I read the script, I told Kamal I really like, and then producers, I like Calhoun because he's in the middle. He's not squeaky clean because he breaks some of the rules, but he knows how to straddle the line to make sure that the people involved pay for what they do, or at least we're able to apprehend them and do it the right way, so that they don't beat the system and get off again. So it's really, really interesting.
Facts. So you mentioned method acting, and just as someone who's followed your career for as long as I can remember, like I'm in my 40s, young buck, but I mean, seeing you from Alphabet City to House Party
Mm.
to Three Ninjas, I mean, you
Oh
were
my
kind
goodness.
of that guy that was always, again, you're a character actor to
Yes, sir.
where you pop up, but you always remember when you're on the screen. And I think one of the things that really hit for me was Andre from Rock.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Yes,
I
sir.
still recall that closing monologue that you did when I first moved to DC. My mom was at Fort Belvoir. We had just come
Hmm.
up here, and the
Hmm.
monologue that you did with the young brother who was in prison
Hmm.
still resonates today. That's what,
Hmm.
32 years later. You're not even, yeah, 32 years later. So I was always curious, did you do that in one take, or did you guys keep shooting it so you got it right?
Well, just so you know, Rock was live, so it had to be one take. First, we want to stop and give kudos to my DMV brother, Mr. Charles Dutton, who, I'm honored to have been on his show. I'm honored the way he shaped Andre Thompson. Started out as a mess, and Mr. Dutton shaped him so that we wouldn't glorify Andre Thompson. And once Andre understood where Dutton's character was coming from, he said, "Man, you gotta go talk to that young kid in jail and tell him not to be like you." And it was really wonderful arc that Mr. Dutton, who created that character, did, and it allowed me to do it and allowed me to play him. It was one of the first things I did when I got to Hollywood. And all I really, man, I tell everybody who's heard me on a podcast or that know me personally, all I really ever wanted to be was Charlie Taylor of the Washington Redskins. A lot of people don't understand that. I grew up, I'm a 67, 8 year Redskin fan, and all I ever wanted to be was Charlie Taylor. I never imagined being an actor. I don't know how I got into it. I think it's all a blessing. But once I fell in love with the arts, I just became a student of the arts and just, studied in the Stanislavski system, which we call method acting. And I just try to come in and do 100%. And, when I went in for the role of Andre Thompson, originally it was supposed to be a cracked out crackhead. That's what it was originally written to be. And we tried it, so when I came in to the audition, I looked like a crackhead. Like I had on dirty clothes, I had dirt on my teeth, I had dirt on my clothes, I had dirt on my face. And I remember I met Mr. Dutton at a beach party, and I, have a mutual friend. I said, "Mr. Dutton, my name is Clifton Powell." I was new. I had just got to LA. I had all my little pictures and resumes with me. And I said, "Mr. Dutton, I know Walter Bennett, who's a friend of mine. He went to Yale with you." He said, "Hey, buddy." And he was really gracious. And then I came in for the audition maybe a month later. And when he went into he came down the hallway, and people had on jeans and t-shirts. And I said hi to him, and I looked like a crackhead because I just did what was on the paper. It says this guy's a cracked out crackhead. So he said when he got in the room with the producers and the director, he was directing. I think Stan Lathan was the director at the time. He said, "They got a real crackhead out there." Speaking of me, and then when I got it, it didn't work as a cracked out crackhead. So then we tried the baggy pants, and then we tried the leather jacket, and all of that stuff is what caught on, and that's how that character became so iconic. I'm just happy to be a part of it. It was live. Somebody said, "Were you nervous?" I'm like, "Yeah." I drank a whole bottle of Malox behind stage because live means if you drop a line, you got to keep going. But it was one of the highlights of my career, man. And I thank my DMV brother, Mr. Charles Dutton. Give him a shout out to him, And he made that character real, man, and the arcs, So it was great to be able to do the arc and come back and share my journey and help some of the young kids not be like Andre Thompson.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, the leads on Rock, they all had a theater background initially, right? Then they
Yeah.
went
Ella
to TV.
Joyce, Rocky Carroll, Carl, God rest his soul, Mr. Dutton from Yale. Yeah, and he did it like theater, because in theater it's live. You mess up, you got to keep going, baby. I did a monologue one time. I had like a 4-page monologue, and I got stuck in the monologue, man, and my heart almost burst on stage. But I just stayed with it, and it's a great training ground, theater. So all the young people out there, get you some theater training. Go to New York for a year or two and do some theater, and then when you get to film and television, it'll be easy. Not that film and television is easy, but once you have that base and that strong theater training, you can morph into television, film, comedy, everything, and that's where we all come from. And it's no better than being a theater actor than a movie actor. So don't take that out of context. It's just a different level of training. That's all it is. And it's immediate. You don't get a take in theater, In film, you get a couple of takes or maybe 10 takes. On stage, it is no takes. You either get it or you don't get it, or you get out the show.
So another thing that surprised me, just reviewing your filmography, because your filmography is vast, but you directed a play, A Man of Her Dreams. Was
Mhm.
it mid 2000s? What was that
That's
experience like?
David Tarbert, Man of Her Dreams. Really, really fun experience. One of the first plays I did out in LA. It's always wonderful for me to do theater and to be able to touch base with your audience, because you come out, you take pictures, you shake hands, and these are the people that support you. So, I mean, I got a theater piece on the table right now that we may do next year, that I can't really talk about just yet. But I always love to do theater. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you sharp, man. Because once you hit that stage, man, you gotta be focused. You gotta be in shape, and you gotta physically, mentally be in shape, and you gotta be focused for that 2.5 hours. And it's always fun. And then you come out and you meet your audience. It's wonderful.
Copy that. All right. So my last question, it kind of ties into the DMV. Again, like I said, I came here in the 90s, but
Mhm.
meeting some of the old heads at the barbershop, hearing about
Yes,
Len
sir.
Bias, and we've never got a Len Bias biopic. We need one. So just as an actor, if we ever get a Len Bias biopic, do you think we need an unknown, or do we need a name to convey Mr. Bias on screen?
I think we need to find somebody, one, who can play the hell out of basketball. So, and then we need somebody who's committed to understanding who Lynn was, and the family approves of. I think years ago, one of my guys, I think out of the DMV, had talked about doing a film and wanted me to come in and play the father. I would be honored to be a part of, Lynn Bias' story. He went to school with some of my nephews. And again, I'm in the DMV. I got to shout out my family. JB, my nephew JB, the sportscaster, Katrina, all my nieces and nephews, Anna, my grandkids, Rashad and Eliza, all my high school friends from St. Anthony's. Shout out to all of y'all supporting me all these years, and I love y'all. Lynn Bias is like a cult figure in the DMV area, and we got to do that story right. Whoever we get, he's got to come with the fire, because Lynn was a beast, and it's just it's a sad story, But
Yes, he was.
I think one that needs to be told, so that I'm sure the family would want to share that legacy and his story to help young people that are coming behind, because there's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure there.
All right, sir. Well, you all can catch Return to the Mack streaming in limited theaters this Friday. And I want to thank you once again for taking time out of your schedule to speak with me.
Yes, sir. Glad to do it. And all my folks and friends out there in the DMV, I love y'all. God bless. Hey, good talking to you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you again.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Hi, this is Rihanna.
Hey, what's up? This is Ludacris.
You're rocking with the best. It's Reviews and Dunn.